Today I woke up and I felt like filming a video, so that's what we're gonna do. Hard to know when you're supposed to have a weekend, but I think we're gonna have a weekend day today on a Wednesday. We might go to the allotment, have a look around, see how things are going. Might go for a nice walk. I think it would be nice to share some of the things that we've been doing, just growing things, and we've been doing a bit of foraging, been learning about lunar gardening and permaculture. I've been sewing some of my own clothes and trying out some natural dyes. We planted some dye plants on the allotment, which is something to look forward to because they're not grown yet, but we can use them one day. I'm going to water the plants in the garden. We've got some little tomato plants because we've got a lot of tomato plants at the allotment, but we realised that we only had orange, black and yellow, and we should have some red ones, so we've got a few red ones in the garden. 3 different kinds of basil, some kohlrabi and some cabbages that really need to be planted, but first we need to build a little cage for them on the allotment so the pigeons don't eat them, and we haven't got around to that yet. This is our kohlrabies getting destroyed by a beautiful butterfly.
Butterfly's got to eat too.
Some herbs. We've got lots of baby cabbages because we really want to start pickling and making kimchi and sauerkraut. Rowlie's got a good book called The Art of Fermentation, which has a lot of recipes in it for every kind of fermenting. And Elsa just got a new book, The Noma Guide to Fermentation. Try some recipes. Hopefully we'll have a lot of cabbages to experiment with. Been making some music. We recorded an album. Which is pretty cool. Rowlie's eating blueberries. It's a nice healthy basil bush. Number 1 tip that I learned from my auntie is to only water it in the morning. So that's what I've been doing and it's working out pretty well. Also to pinch off the tops where it flowers, and then it stops it getting woody and it gets more bushy. It's a pretty bushy plant. And when you pick off the flowers you can just put them in pesto or tea and they're still delicious and good. Sweet. I would like to go for a walk. What would you like to do?
Yeah, let's go and do that. Have you got any... oh, you've got pineapple in there. The pineapple's good.
And the carrot's good.
Carrot and pineapple. Weird.
Is that? Good.
Yeah, but the thought of it's weird, isn't it?
Looks really gross now, but when you blend it up, it's good. Tiny van!
Tiny van. Inside tiny van. Get inside tiny van.
Cowboy Rowlie.
Cowboy.
But they're really sweet. We listened to this on the way down. It's some of our favourite driving music. It's important to buy music that you like, because at the moment no musicians have gigs.
No.
You've got to support them. Buy their music.
Yeah.
We're gonna go and show you our allotment and see what's going on, see what's growing, and show you around. This is our red currant bush that we already had. Someone already planted it here when we got our allotment. It's got nice little red berries, very tasty. Rowlie made a jam last year. It was a bit sour, but that's because we didn't want to use sugar. This is our strawberry patch that we planted last year, and we picked all the flowers off so that it could put its energy into growing more shoots, which it has done, and then next year we'll have lots of strawberries. Hopefully. There's carrots in there, and we've put these ones in a planter because the soil is quite rocky here, so hopefully these ones will go nice and straight and long. This bed has parsnips that we planted in February, salsify, which is also a long root, and scorzonera, which I think is this one, and that's a black one. There's loads of wild poppies growing all over, which is really nice, so we just let them grow, and then we'll let the seed heads dry and we can sprinkle the seeds around for next year. We've got sweet corn here, which was so tasty last year, so I'm really looking forward to it. And we took off, when they first start to grow, they grow these little side shoots at the bottom, and we took them off. Not that, I've already taken it off. But it helps them grow taller, faster, and just put all its energy into one corn instead of more. This is our bed of dye plants. I only planted them the other day, so they're really little. We're about to water them. Here we have woad, which makes a blue dye. This one's weld, which makes a yellow dye. We've planted some cauliflowers. We've just taken a cover off that we had on them to stop the butterflies and pigeons. This is a weed called fat hen, which is edible, and it grows everywhere, which is great. So if you see this, don't pull it out, just eat it. We've got geraniums, which are a really good companion plant. They help attract pests away from your food crops. We've got loads of rainbow chard. They popped up all over the place, and I planted them all together here so we can harvest them. I'm actually really excited about this. It's a mullein plant. I'm not sure if that's how you say it. It's mullein, and it will grow a big tall yellow flower next year. It's a really useful medicinal herb for lung support. It's anti-inflammatory, antiviral, and you can use the yellow flowers as a dye. It's also just really fluffy and soft, and I love it. It's growing next to our beans. These are purple beans called Blauhild. We grew them last year and they were so delicious. We pretty much ate them all here on the allotment raw because they were so tasty. This is my apple tree that I grew from seed 3 years ago. It even looked like a twig once, and Rowlie's mum thought it was dead and put it in the compost bin, and then we found it and revived it, and now it's growing on our allotment. The trick to germinating apple seeds is to put them with a damp cloth in the fridge for a few months, and then it thinks it's winter. When you take it out of the fridge, it will sprout because it thinks it's spring. And that's what I did. I had a really tasty apple, which I'm not sure will grow from this tree because they usually graft branches onto apple trees, don't they? But hopefully it will grow an apple eventually. Look, the squash is climbing up the gooseberry bush. We just let our squash last year crawl wherever it wanted, and then we got loads. So I think that's what we're going to do. We were getting veg boxes from Riverford, and we saved the seeds from our bonbon squash, and this is what this has grown from. It's so cute.
No monocropping going on here.
I love these flowers. They're like little fried eggs, aren't they? Got another one. Little tiny baby cucumbers. We put this trellis up for them to climb, because Rowlie's done that before and it worked quite well, didn't it?
Yeah, they like to climb.
Raspberries! This bush was already here as well, when we got our allotment. We usually get about 2 each when we come. This one's Rowlie's.
Thank you, Esmae.
I think these tomatoes are probably doing the best out of the ones that we planted. I actually planted all of our tomatoes on the 1st of January because I was so excited, and then they were in our kitchen until about February, and then we put them in a little greenhouse outside in our garden for another month, or 2 actually. Now we've got massive tomato plants. We have been doing, or trying, but we've got so many, to pull out these little shoots in the elbows, they call it, I think, like that. And that stops, it's supposed to stop the plants getting so big and for them to put more energy into the fruit. I think we must have missed some because they've gone massive. We planted clementine tomatoes. They're Rowlie's favourite, aren't they?
Yeah.
Black cherry, which I think is going to be these. Yellow ones called Goldiana.
And then in the centre here we've got all of our potatoes. We've got 3 different types, but I don't think either of us really remember which ones are which. So obviously we're not using any pesticides or herbicides. There are no weeds on our plot really. Generally speaking, everything looks quite nice, and when you do let it grow a little bit, the flowers are pretty. What looks like a weed at first isn't really. When it develops into a flower, it's good nectar for the bees. Of course the bees love the borage, we love the borage, and the ants love the borage, and then that distracts them from other plants on the plot. It would be good to point out that we also grow a lot of things in one bed. We've got lettuces growing underneath the potatoes that are probably protected because they're out of view and nothing can see them. The pigeons love to eat things like lettuces because they are desperate for water at the moment. But they're hiding under the potatoes, so perhaps that's why they've survived.
Chamomile is such a lovely plant for calming, for emotional stress, a nice restful sleep, but it's also really gentle. It's not a powerful herb that you have to worry about, and that means it's really safe for children as well, especially if they're a bit hyperactive or they can't sleep or if they're worried. And it smells fruity like apples. In Spanish they call chamomile manzanilla, I think, which means little apple. If you're making a tea with fresh flowers, you only need about 4 or 5 little heads of chamomile, and make sure you put a lid on it or a little plate on the top when you're brewing it, because that keeps all the good volatile oils in, and that's the good bits. Around our plot and seeing what we're growing. We just started it last year, and we would really like to get to a point where we can be a bit more self-sufficient and grow as much of our own food as we can. We're learning so much all the time, and if you like this video and you want to learn with us and see how we grow things and do some sourdough baking, some sewing, fermenting, foraging, natural dyes, printmaking and music, then you can subscribe to our channel. You can go and check us out on Instagram @smallplantco, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.